Citizens of Panem, I'm Caesar Flickerman. Oh, who am I kidding? I'm not Caesar Flickerman, but we are talking today about the new Hunger Games prequel, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. And joining me on our fabulous sun armchairs is senior showbiz reporter, Mary Gallagher. I'm Josh Rom, and this is Film Watch.
Mr. Snow, after everything you've seen out there in the world, what are the Hunger Games for?
Are you coming to the tree?
The Hunger Games are to punish the districts. Those tributes don't have a choice.
Your role is to turn these children into spectacles, not survivors.
We're live! Smile. It's why we have teeth.
Mary, self-proclaimed Hunger Games superfan. This is, of course, a prequel to the original Hunger Games trilogy in the books, but of course there were 4 movies. First thoughts, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. What did you think?
Absolutely loved it. I thought it was thorough, it was scaled back futurism, the actors were fantastic. Love Tom Blyth, he makes a fantastic Snow.
I mean, I will say that this is a real breakthrough role for him. Beforehand, he was known for kind of, you know, very much smaller roles. He was in the 2010 Robin Hood movie. He also had a kind of cameo in one of my favourite dramas, The Gilded Age, the new Julian Fellowes period drama. But this is a real breakthrough role for him. I think, you know, we're going to see him in a lot more. You know, a film like The Hunger Games, a franchise like The Hunger Games is really good for the kind of exposure element. You know, do you think this signifies a real breakthrough for Tom Blyth?
I think so, but I'll confess I didn't know much about him before this film. I think he is really striking on camera. He looks fantastic. He looks completely different to how he does in real life as well in this role. And you see him really transform into Snow throughout the movie. Like at the beginning of the film, you really can't believe that he would turn into the murderous game master or
Game maker,
and dictator of Panem. And really at the end, you see that something snaps.
But I do think there were the kind of, and this is what's so good, and you see it in the book as well, there were those kind of hints of the future Snow, and and the thing is, you still believe that, okay, this is where the character started out, and this is very much the origin story of how Snow came to be the dictator that he was known to be in the original Hunger Games trilogy. But, you know, there were those kind of elements, and, you know, Tom Blyth also as well. Donald Sutherland, who played Snow in the original movies, incredibly hard act to follow, but there needed to be that kind of genuine connection to kind of believe it's still the same character. And I think Tom Blyth really did that, didn't he?
He does. It's not just how he looks. Obviously, he's got the bone structure, he's got the height,
mannerisms as well.
Mannerisms, yeah, the voice. He really pulls off the kind of slow, thoughtful talking process that Snow has. Tom has really pulled that off. I absolutely loved him as the character. I really liked Rachel as well.
I was gonna say,
very much so.
Rachel Zegler as Lucy Gray Baird.
Yeah.
What I love so much is there were kind of, and you get this in the book as well, and this is the thing, I think a lot of critics are gonna see these kind of nods to the future Katniss Everdeen, like the bow and arrow, her calling the roots by the lake in District 12,
the bow,
Katniss, the bow, and also just the fact that she also sings the hanging tree. You know, these are all things. These are all things that she actually does in the book. So you know, that was very much Suzanne Collins kind of making almost nods, similarities to Katniss Everdeen, which is actually why Snow doesn't like Katniss Everdeen, because she reminds him of Lucy Gray Baird. But Rachel Zegler, amazing job as Lucy Gray Baird, don't you think?
Yes. What is her history, her acting history?
Well, I mean, listen, she was in Steven Spielberg's West Side Story. Of course, there's the controversy. There was all the Snow White controversy. She's about to play Snow White in the live-action Disney remake of Snow White, and then there was, of course, all those controversial remarks about making it woke and a different sort of story. And she's growing up to be the leader she can be, and the 7 magical creatures. You know, that is definitely a conversation for another time. If we're looking at her in this film, I think she did a phenomenal job, incredible singing. We know she's got that singing voice from West Side Story when she played Maria, but I think in this she showed a real different side to her, a much more haunting side to her personality. I think she really proves that she's a tour de force in this film. What did you think?
I do think that. I think the character has many depths. She is actually a wandering gypsy, the character, and she's very poor, and then she gets thrust into this zoo of like killing machine, and there are lots of like light and shade to the character. And I think as an actress, she just pulls it off. But also there's the whole Romeo and Juliet aspect to the story, which she is perfect for. I think they really honed in on her face on a lot of those shots, didn't they? It seems a bit more romantic than the trilogy, this film.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, because the original book as well is more of a love story, but also like kind of between Snow and Lucy Gray. But you spoke about the capital killing machine.
Yeah.
One thing that I noticed, and I'm not sure you did too, this film was so much more dark and so much more brutal than the original Hunger Games films. And of course, you know, this is set 64 years before the original Hunger Games film. This is very much a prequel, so the games are very much in their infancy. They're far more rudimentary, and because of that, you know, the format to please the capital, the tribute parade, and all of those, and the training centres, all of that doesn't exist at this time. So we've got a far more rudimentary Hunger Games product, which I think translates into a far more brutal film. And the kids as well, the other tributes in this, it comes across, their innocence really comes across in this film far more than it does in the original. What do you think?
Well, that's true, because the tributes are all untrained. The tools are different that they're using to kill each other. You know, it's rakes and pitchforks and
again
things
far
like
more rudimentary, isn't it?
But the film is still a 12A, so I mean, parents shouldn't be scared to bring their children to the cinema to watch it. I think the games went too quickly for me. They ended really quickly within the film. There was a lot around that. The games were a big part of the film, but they weren't as long as I expected them to be. I thought they'd be more.
And I will say they weren't as long as I expected them to be.
Yeah.
No spoiler alert, but I will say the games were very, very, very different than the games in the book. The games in the book were known to be far slower. And I think the actual filmmakers did this on purpose, because we all know the Hunger Games in the original film and in Catching Fire, at first the countdown goes off, boom, they run to the cornucopia, there's a bloodbath.
Yeah.
And I think they did that in this film as a kind of nod. But actually in the book, the games were known to have a much more slower start in the book, and actually in the book as well, they were known to have this slower start that was ever so slightly disappointing for the capital.
They still had the cat and mouse aspect that they did in the trilogy, you know, ganging up on one character, and then how that gang turn on each other.
And the
a
kind
bit
of
like Lords
early
of the
signs
Flies.
of the career pack,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's beautifully done by Suzanne Collins.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we can't give too much away. I'm afraid if we talk about the games, that things are going to... And the thing is, this film is much more than just the games. So I think that's what I love about it. You almost it feels like you get 3 films in one film.
And that leads me
directly
onto my next question, because this film has a running time of over 2 hours and 30. It's quite long.
Yeah.
But as a superfan, you and I both know that, you know, and what's actually more difficult as a superfan is I'm watching this film, not just looking at the film itself, but kind of playing a game of almost spot the difference from the original book. And even though it's got quite a long running time, they cut out so much from the books. So my question is, you say we've got 3 films in one. I agree, because it's split up very much into 3 distinct parts. But, you know, we're seeing this new kind of revolution in the way content's done. You know, Marvel in particular is leading the way. Film content that would have usually been suited to traditional films is now being put as mini-series on the streaming services. So my question is, yes, it was an amazing film, I think. And I think Hunger Games fans, this is a must-watch for any Hunger Games fan. But do you think it would have worked better as a mini-series on a streaming platform? And also bearing in mind the 3 parts of the film could technically be split up into 3 different series of a mini-series, or just a drama. What do you think?
I think for die-hard fans, they would of course lap up a series because it's more content, it's more hours to watch, it's more, you know, footage to just cut into, but it wouldn't have had as much of an impact. It could have got lost on a streaming service. You know, they battle over, you'd have to sign up to one of the streaming services, you might not sign up to all of them. If it goes out in the cinema, it's going to make a big impact on opening weekends. And I think actually, because it's a prequel, we don't know any of these characters, so as a fan...
Well, we know one.
We know one, but we...
or
sorry,
maybe two.
One or two, yeah.
We know two as well. We know two. Tigress is...
Yeah.
Well, I mean, she's such a small part in Mockingjay Part 2 that fans will be, I think, forgiven for thinking...
For forgetting who she is. It's only the name that twigs, because obviously she doesn't look anything like... But in the sense that, you know, maybe they could leap off from here into a series from this prequel, and we could go into that whole 64-year period now.
I mean, I'm praying.
Yeah, I'd be up for that. I'd be up for that. Now that we've seen this in the cinema, we could definitely, you know, I'm happy to watch it at home and just get into the
I'm waiting for it to come out on home release. I've been watching in the lead up to the film's release on November the 17th. I have been watching pretty much the Hunger Games films on a daily basis because I've been so excited.
It's like, I'm talking to Josh about this, I need to know my stats. That's what I've been thinking. Like,
I'm like, I need this film at home ASAP. But...
Josh knows everything. What I was going to ask you actually, he does know everything. Did Snow mention Lucy Gray Bard in the original? He does, doesn't he?
No, he doesn't. But I think fans will. But
if you know, comment below. But I think he does mention her once.
I'm not sure if he. I'm not sure if he mentions it. I think the whole line, and we get Donald Sutherland repeating the line at the end of the film. It's the things we love most that destroy us, and I think that when it comes to Katniss Everdeen, Snow is definitely thinking of Lucy Gray Baird, and I think now that after Hunger Games fans have seen this, they will watch the original 4 films. And actually, maybe if they're going back to read the books, I think they might even read the books in an incredibly different way.
Maybe I need to do that.
But last point, ratings time. Out of 5, what do you think?
I think I'd give it a 4. I don't want to say why, because I really don't want to criticise it. I really enjoyed it.
We are the show that simply tells you guys what's on. We don't tell you what to think. If you want to criticise it, please.
I hate being negative. I love sci-fi, and I can suspend my belief or disbelief forever. But there were some things like you have said that you want the film to win like awards for the...
Well, I say awards, I think it should win for production design.
Set
design, production design, costumes. If it's going to win any... I don't expect it to be nominated for Best Picture by any means, but I think it could really be a hit for maybe some of those artistic design categories. Maybe.
I just felt that one of the opening scenes was that roundabout scene with the cars from the 1950s going round, and it didn't look very real for me.
You see,
and I've read that there was a lot of green screen activity going on. But
this is where we actually, I think, disagree, because I think that original, you say the 1950s, that's actually what I like so much about this film, is because, you know, the capital in the original films was so big, so grand, so modern. And actually you've got to think, well, there's 65 years in between these films. Technology would have to have advanced, and I think they've done the filmmakers and the producers have done a really good job of making this Panem very familiar as the Panem that we know and love and are fascinated by, but also a much earlier Panem, and it kind of again highlights how far Panem as a society's come, how far the Hunger Games have come, and I actually think the filmmakers did a really good job at that.
I did like the uniforms and things like that. I won't go too much into it.
Well, we're both wearing our Academy Capital Rouge today.
Students, we've also got some symbolism here. Can we talk about that? What have you got on?
Mockingjay pin. I'm not a part of the rebellion, or am I? But anyway, on that note, I'm going to give it very much the roses, emphasis on the roses. On that note, I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to give the film a 4 out of 5, just because, you know, I mean, I'm a massive fan of the books. I know what they cut out. There were plenty of grand scenes that I wish they kept in the movie, but it would have literally been a 4-hour-long movie, and nobody wants an Avengers Endgame all over again. But as a super fan, I'm giving it you know, I would give it 5 out of 5, but they did cut a load of stuff out. 4 out of 5 for me. 4 out of 5 from us both, but as always, we want to hear from you. We're the show that tells you what's on, but doesn't tell you what to think. So please comment below. We want to hear all of your opinions. And for all the latest showbiz and films news, analysis, gossip, keep up to date with Sun Showbiz on our YouTube. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. See you next time.